Well, hello and welcome to another video. So in this video, we are going to talk about view binding. We have used findViewById so far for every videos, but let be honest, that is very lengthy process, and we don't want to write unnecessary lines of code, right? So there is an easy way. Before, when Kotlin newly introduced to Android, there was Kotlin synthetics through which we could use directly we could access the views in XMLs directly by calling their IDs. Like for example, in activity main, we would have a text view, and if this text view had an ID, like for suppose hello world TV hello world, then to access this text view inside our Kotlin file, we would directly write TV hello world, and it will refer to that particular XML view. But the Kotlin synthetics is now deprecated, so we cannot use that. So we have only two options. One is findViewById, which is lengthy and unnecessary code, and second is ViewBinding. So ViewBinding is what we are going to discuss about how we can use that in our project, right? There's also data binding, but in data binding, that not only binds the views with the Kotlin file, it also binds the data with the XML file. But data binding I would not recommend to use because it would bind the views with the data, right? And that we don't want. And that is good in some cases, but usually what we want to do in our application, that we want to separate our business logic, our data, and our views separately, right? But data binding does not support that, so it will basically be hard to write test cases for data binding. It's not hard, I would say. It's a bit tricky. In the other hand, if we write an application where everything is separated, it will be easier to write test cases for that. So anyway, we are going to focus on view binding. View binding basically binds the view in the XML with Kotlin file, right? So let's see how we can achieve that. It's really easy to do. So first of all, we have to open our Gradle file of module, and we have inside this Android block we have to write build features, build features, features, not feature, build features, and inside that we have to write view binding equals to true, and that's it. And now we have to rebuild the project, as we have changed the Gradle file, so it will ask for sync, and we have to sync our project again. Okay, so syncing is finished, and what it will do, it will generate the extra files of view binding for every XML that we have in our project. So now we can go to our XML file, and let's give an ID to this text view, ID TV. I'm just gonna keep it TV. Let's just write TV hello. So TV hello, and now we have to access this text view inside our main activity. So basically, there are different ways to implement view bindings in activity and fragment. So let's first do that in activity. So first of all, let's create, let's have a variable, late init variable, basically. Late init var binding of type, and it will give us a suggestion itself, a binding of type here it is, binding activity main binding. So it should have given me at the first place, but anyway, this is what we have to call a binding variable of type activity main binding, right? Now inside this onCreate method, after the super method is called, we have to write, we have to have another, we have to basically use this binding variable, and we have to set it to activity main binding, and we have different methods like activity main binding dot bind and inflate. So we have to, in activities, we have to use this inflate method instead of bind, and inside we'll pass our layout inflator that our activity provides us, right? And in our set content view, we can directly use this binding variable like binding dot root. So what does this root means? Basically, this refers to our root element of our XML files, which is a constraint layout, which we can, if you hover over this root, it will point it out, which is a constraint layout, right? So now we can use this binding variable to access this TV hello world view inside our XML, right? And if you hover over this TV hello world, it says it's non-null. So view binding, it also provides us the protection against null pointer exception. As this is not null, you cannot face a null pointer exception. Okay, it will give you the compile time error if there is something wrong with it. So now let's see how we can do the same thing with Fragment. So I'm just gonna copy this XML file and I'm gonna name it Fragment hello, and I'm gonna create another file here, Kotlin file, Fragment hello. It will extend from Fragment, and in the constructor itself, we can pass the layout r.layout fragment hello, and we have to call on view created. And inside this, okay, we have firstly we have to have this private let init var variable of binding. Here we have fragment hello binding. It gave us straight away this time. So inside this on view created, after this super method, we can use this binding and we can assign binding equals to fragment hello world binding dot bind. We have to use bind method inside this fragment. So we don't have any inflator inside the fragment, but we have view, which is here. We have already access to the view, which we can use it here. So we can directly pass view here. And now we can use this binding variable to access this TV hello, which is inside the fragment. As we can see, it is in the fragment. So this is basically how you can use the view binding, and this is what we are going to use in every video now onwards. One viewer pointed out this in the comment section that findViewById is deprecated. No, findViewById is not deprecated. Kotlin synthetics is deprecated. findViewById is not going to be deprecated anytime soon. I don't know about the compose, but compose, and there's no XML in compose, so there's no point of talking about that here. So anyway, findViewById is there. It's going to be there. View binding is more efficient way to bind the views with the Kotlin file, and it is also built faster than the findViewById, and it also requires less lines of code, which is always good to have. So this is it basically for this video. I'll see you guys in the next video.